Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Patty G. Russo, and this is Let's Talk Pets on Society Bites Radio. Today, we welcome back Kathy Poblowski from Lost Dogs of America with an important topic that we're going to talk about, the microchip maze, I'm going to call this, because microchips are so important in reuniting lost pets. But every day, we are seeing cases where people that are scanning the chips sometimes don't exactly know how to look them up. So this is a little bit different what we're going to talk about. And we're kind of reaching out to those people, whether they work at a shelter, a vet's office, a rescue, that we want them to know about this very important tool called the petmicrochiplookup.org, the AAHA pet microchip lookup. It's really important, and I'm finding more and more people aren't aware of it, and it's kind of a bad thing. So we hope that what we're going to talk about today helps some people out. So welcome to the show, Kathy.
Thanks, Patty. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So I know that very recently we have had at least 5 cases of there isn't a chip. The chip is unregistered is generally what I'm hearing over and over and over again. And then when I get the chip number, it is registered. And I'm trying to figure out how is this happening. And I think it is because people are not using the AHA lookup site. So let's
Yeah,
talk about that.
yeah, I agree. And when you think, and I don't want to sound critical. I admire shelter staff and what they do every day, day in and day out. But I do not think that there is a lot of education in that department. They're probably shown quickly how to scan a dog, and then a number pops up, but then they're not really taught the process of what to do next.
Right.
And if there is a microchip that is very common in their area, it's perhaps the microchip that shelter uses. So there's a lot of microchips in that community with that type of microchip. They recognize the prefix, the identifying 3 numbers at the beginning of the microchip, and they assume, they make an assumption that, oh, okay, I know what brand this is, and they just go to that company and assume that that's where the microchip was registered last, and that may not be where the microchip was registered last.
Right.
They're again, like you said, it's a maze. So using the AHA tool would show them where the microchip was last registered, as long as it's with one of the participating microchip brands, which thankfully most of them now do participate. But there seems to be that disconnect in that education process. And one of the things that I just personally have noticed is that when we have these large animal welfare conferences around the country, which there are, a few of them, and provide excellent education to the shelter staff on various topics, this is often a missing topic. And I believe it's because the people that are the real experts on microchips usually are working for a microchip company, and they're not invited to speak because it would look like they're promoting their own brand, which, they may or may not do. But I mean, these are the people that do it and are experts at it, and we really need to be listening to them and learning from them. But
Right.
it's often a topic that's totally skipped over in animal welfare conferences. And I don't know about veterinary conferences because I've never been to one, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing that, it might be similar. But when they're choosing speakers, they don't want to play favorites by choosing a rep from a microchip company, and yet those are the people that really know their stuff when it comes to
Yeah.
what should be done. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it is, and as you said at the beginning, I have a lot of respect for the people in the shelters and the rescues and the vet's office as well. It's just that when we're seeing this over and over again, it's making me really concerned, and I think we need to find a way to help them so that they can sorry, I've got a little frog in my throat. Help them realize that this exists, because I'm really shocked that people aren't using it. And just the other day, It had to have been because it was an Avid chip, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
participate in that. But when I put the number in, when I was told it was unregistered, I put the number in, and it came up. It showed that Avid was second in line, and then it was registered with AKC. So whoever had microchipped it or whatever, however it became that way, I don't know, but the chip came up AKC and it was registered. It had all the
Wow.
information. You know, it was
Wow.
completely updated, and I
Yeah.
was shocked because I'm always shocked when it's always
Yeah.
updated, you know.
Yeah.
But it was there. So I called and I asked, how did you look up the chip? Because I just guessed, just like you said, people recognize that have been doing this for a long time. They recognize those prefixes and then they just go with that. And
Yep.
when I called and inquired and I said, do you know about the AHA, microchip lookup? And they didn't know what I was talking about.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And that was
And
the third one. Two were vets offices, and one was a shelter. And it made me so concerned that I thought, okay, we have to figure out how we can help this situation. And I called
yeah.
AKC today, and she's going to send me out. I guess they have a little sticker thing that you stick right on your computer that says to use the AHA tool. So I'm going to get a bunch of those, and I'm going to get them out
Yeah.
to whoever I can get them out to, because it is
And
so important.
it's so important. And then actually, we're going to take that one step further. We give away quite a few scanners between Wisconsin, Lost Dogs in Wisconsin, and Lost Dogs Illinois to either police departments or, the small animal control facilities or whatever that can't afford a scanner. And we have started making the sticker that we stick right on the scanner before we give it away.
That's a good
So that
idea.
with the URL of the AHA lookup tool on
Mm,
it, because we want them to look there first and to
right,
know where to look first of all.
right.
Um, and the other thing that I would like to make people aware of is that I don't know if everybody understands how, and I don't totally understand how it works, but there's something called Google AdWords. And so companies can purchase words on Google so that it looks like it's them. And I don't know if that makes sense, but if I sold Kleenex tissue, but I wanted to get all the customers that might be looking for Scotties tissue, I could actually buy the word Scotties and have those people make it look like I'm selling Scotties tissue. So I'm kind of gaining customers that might not realize that they've actually landed on my website by mistake,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is some microchip companies that are doing this totally unethical thing
Mm,
and making it look like that's there, and so many of the microchip companies, the name is like a little bit similar or whatever, that make it look like they are that microchip company, and they actually pop up to the top because it's a paid ad. And
mm-hmm.
so we actually had a dog in Wisconsin that almost didn't get reunited because the shelter staff thought that they had clicked through to the website and database of the microchip brand for the dog that they had just scanned, but they didn't. They clicked through to this other site, which of course the dog was not registered in, and so they just said, "Oh, it's a dead end." Well, it wasn't a dead end at all. They had just looked in the wrong database.
Mm,
Um, and that they said, "Oh, this dog was not registered." Well, dog was totally up to date, like you said, it totally registered
yeah.
in the correct brand, but the shelter worker had clicked on the wrong website. So just make absolutely sure when you're going to search a website that you're looking at the one that you should be looking at. And better yet, if you just use the AHA tool to begin with and then call the number.
Yeah.
But there is that sort of stuff that's going on, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't heard of that, and
Yeah.
that's another important thing we have to worry about, right?
I know.
Oh
It's
gosh.
just so unethical, and we have that problem going on in Wisconsin right now with our lost dogs in Wisconsin, that
Mm.
they one of the paid services has bought those words,
Oh
so
no.
their ad pops to the top and people will click on it and end up going through to a paid service instead of reaching us, which we're a free service.
Oh, jeez, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing about not using the petmicrochiplookup.org, the AAHA site, that is a one really important reason, and how we talked about that little case that I had with the Avid, and then it was registered with AKC. There are more and more people who, we talked a little bit about it last week, that when they do register their pets, some of them are choosing to go with the free microchip registries, which, it's better to be registered than not. But this is what happens if you don't go with your microchip brand, is that if somebody is not using the AHA lookup tool, they're only going to see like the prefix and say, oh, that's a 24 pet watch, and then they're not going to know that, no, it's registered with Michelson Found Registry instead. And they wouldn't know that unless they use the AHA tool. I saw one the other day that had 3 registrations on it that popped up. I know. So all the more reason and important reasons to use the AHA site, because that's why we're hearing over and over and over again, oh, it's unregistered, when no, it's not. It is registered, because people are choosing different registries. You can register your pet with anybody, but if it's not looked up correctly, your pet's not coming back home. That's why we're talking about this today, because it is so important.
Right. And I think that's what confuses a lot of people. They think, oh, well, I've registered my pet. Anybody is going to be able to, it's going to be in some huge centralized database. Well, it's not. Even the AAHA lookup tool, it's really only a search tool that can quickly scan all of the databases, but it's not like it's all in one database. It's just searching through the databases. So it's not like all the information is in one place. It's in many places. And looking in AAHA will ensure that it's it's scanning as many places as possible to make it work. So they've really done a good job of getting most of the microchip companies to participate.
Because there's just a very few that don't. But let's talk about the one that we know that we're not a fan of that doesn't, and that's the 900 microchips. I've never seen one, and I don't know if you have, but I've never seen one that's been registered or has any information at all on it.
I've seen some. I have seen some, but less, definitely fewer rather than more. And just, again, very frustrating, because I don't know, I guess maybe there's a lot of money in microchips or something, but these little companies pop up everywhere, and they do not produce enough microchips to get a unique identifying prefix. And then, it just becomes, there's just very little way to identify that microchip, They're just, it's very, very frustrating. It makes me cringe when I see them.
I know. I know. So if you do get your chip checked and you find out that it has a 900 chip, that you have to, find out if it's registered, and it's probably not, because most of the time, I'd say over 90%, they're not. And so you're going to have to find a way to register it. And we're here to help you with that. Kathy will give you her information, and mine's online too, that we're here to help you, because that's all we care about, is that you get your chips registered and that people know how to look those chips up. I'm seeing also, I guess, people that are, have their own scanners, and they're old school, I guess, and they're doing that thing where they're just looking at what's scanned, and then they're just, oh, I know this chip,